All right, we are on air. Happy Thursday, everybody. It is the 1st of March. It's a whole new month in Backdrop land. Let's see, this is a meeting to talk about design tasks. We've got a lot of updates since our last design meeting. Starting with Backdrop the product, we have scheduled for the 110 release, which will be May 15th. We want to work on improving the user experience of the modules page. Some of the feedback we got from our survey at the beginning of the year is that it was really hard for people to know which modules were ready for Backdrop, and we wanted to make the process of finding out the answer to that question a little easier. And part of that process includes reworking the modules page inside Backdrop itself to give us like a checkbox for what's in core and what's not would be really helpful, as well as being able to search that list more easily and being able to search by category or tag. So we're going to take a stab at a modules page user experience update, which is issue number 7 or number 37, one of our longest standing issues on Backdrop CMS GitHub queue. So we will work on that shortly. We could definitely use advice and experience from anyone who's a designer or user experience expert in that issue there. Got a pull request, it needs a reroll, and then we'll need help testing. That's the only design-focused issue we have scheduled for 110, but as always, Backdrop is super interested in improving the user experience. So if you are wanting to get involved and you have area of expertise, or you're a designer and there's something about Backdrop that bothers you, go ahead and create an issue in our issue queue, and we will attempt to address those user experience issues in particular. Can go in at any time. So if it's an easy fix, you can get it done. It can still go into 110 even if it's not on the official roadmap. The next thing we'd like to talk about is backdropcms.org, and there's been a couple of changes happening here recently. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Most notably is our new Try Backdrop page. To show you, there it is. Start. So the Try Backdrop page is going to be what people will click on the homepage. If they use our main call to action, they click the Try Demo button, they will land on the Try Backdrop CMS page. And right now we have 3 ways that you can try Backdrop. One of them is Pantheon. That's where that button on our homepage currently goes, which would spin up a Pantheon site to give you a demo. The next one is to use Lando to do a local development environment. And then the third one is DDEV, which also just recently introduced Backdrop support, which will also let you do a local development environment. And it would be great if we had a better way to let people demo Backdrop than having to spin up on Pantheon. So Nate, did you have ideas on that we should talk about?
Yeah, this page looks great, first of all. This is really exciting. I think the promotion of Pantheon on the homepage, my favorite thing about that is that it gets people into Backdrop like as quickly as possible. Like there's no like try Backdrop and then you have to make a decision, which I'm a little bit worried about introducing this page because of that, like, the fewer clicks to get into a Backdrop site, the better. And one of the things I don't like about Pantheon right now is that it requires you to do a sign up, before you can actually start playing with a Backdrop site. It's great that Pantheon is like a permanent hosting provider. So once you spin up a Backdrop site, you can keep playing with it there. So you can transition your demo site into like a full-fledged site. But I think for a lot of users, if they're just looking to try Backdrop, they might not be ready to really make a hosting decision at that particular point in time. That potentially, it might be nice if we could have the Try Backdrop button have, I'm trying to think of how quickly you could make this happen, like try Backdrop, and then like maybe, make sure that you're not a robot CAPTCHA, and then hit spin up. And then don't let the user don't require the user to enter in any information or sign up for any particular service, and hopefully make it agnostic so that the user isn't actually making a commitment. It's not like a paid sponsorship of any kind. And that could look like
a module for Drupal. I think it was called Demo, where you could test anything and it would like wipe and reset its database every night. So we wouldn't have to ask for any credentials at all if we could run something like that. Where
interesting. Just a common shared sandbox.
Right. That would let anyone do anything with the site, but then it would reset it every night or whatever. And that way, when you click try demo, that's actually what you'd be doing. Is it would let you in, it would let you do what you want. Our pre-populated database could include things like content types with content in it, so people could get a feeling of what it's like to actually use a real website as opposed to a starting point website. And that reset ability would make it so they can do whatever they want, but it's still gone 24 hours later.
Interesting. Yeah, that might work. I was thinking something along the lines of our sandbox sites. How we create a new sandbox for every pull request. If you could just make a sandbox on demand without a pull request, I think that would be a handy piece of functionality. It also kind of allow you to do things like assemble examples if you wanted to throw something together real quick and then link to it. And if they were independent, then you wouldn't have to worry about other people tampering with it quite so much. I guess, how we'd have to deal with authentication and stuff like that too. Like give them a username and password.
Yeah. We do that for our websites, so that could work.
Yeah.
The technical solution for that problem yet either, and that technical solution might also dictate the terms of the tools that we can use to do it. So like if it's something that's running on the tools that we're using to do our sandboxes, we'll probably get a sandbox. If we end up setting up a site similar demo module, we'll probably get something more like a demo. Or if we can get one of these hosting providers to give us some kind of on-ramp to their service that doesn't require that you sign up for hosting first, that might also determine what it is. But yeah, I think it would be great to get people to the demo faster from the homepage, and then if we want to still provide a link to this page where they can choose other ways to try Backdraft, I think that would be good too. So we have the main call to action, which is like just use it, which gets people into the software, and then we still have all of these options for how to use Backdraft in different ways, like whether it's on Pantheon or whether it's on your local site, and instructions on how to do that here would be good too.
Yep, agreed. Can you scroll down on this try Backdraft page just to capture the rest of it? So I like these steps that you've added as well that kind of give you an idea of what it is that you're going to be doing with each of these providers. Like the Pantheon one, that's nice how you say you have to sign up first, and then you create a site, and then you run the installer. Like that's great. It lets me feel like I have an expectation of what is going to happen with these tools. I'm still a little bit worried that it's a little bit overwhelming. But in general, like this is a really excellent page. Like it also adds some legitimacy, that there's these different tools that support Backdraft in ways that you can build out a site using it.
So I think Jeff wrote this content. So thank you, Jeff, for this stuff. So that's great. The only thing we didn't have when Jeff wrote the page was the DDEV entry, and that's the one that's missing the steps because I wrote that one. So I did turn over access to the DDEV one to the folks at DDEV, though, so that they can update it with the steps necessary to get DDEV promoting locally, and they seemed happy to take that over. So hopefully we'll be able to promote this a little bit when we get the blog post up that announces DDEV support for Backdraft as well.
Yeah, we might want to demarketify this a little bit. Like by the time you've made your coffee, you could be spinning up a new Backdraft WordPress or Drupal site.
I just copied it from their website.
Okay.
I don't write content. I just copy and paste it.
Anyway, it's all very exciting. This is a really nice page.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Greg.
Just as you said, it is a bit overwhelming if someone wants to have an overview, because I'm not sure about the order of these things. Is it randomized? What comes up first, or is it static? Is that?
Right now, it's like the oldest one is first.
Yeah.
We can change that.
So yeah, if someone needs to sort of like scroll, and probably most likely that in the future there's going to be more options added. So if someone has to scroll to see all these options, it's a bit, I don't know, it's not market friendly, as you said. Like maybe if we had like just the icons of Pantheon and whatever other provider as a list, only the icons that when you click them just scroll you down the page. But when the user comes there without scrolling, the first thing that they see is try Backdrop CMS, and here's a list of all the various options. So they see just, how people like icons and sort of like a summary.
I don't think that's going to work though, because none of the brand icons are recognizable to anyone. So like if you didn't know what Pantheon was, a little Pantheon logo isn't going to mean anything. And like this Lando logo, there's no meaning in any of those icons. They're not like icons that people understand, like edit or copy or paste or anything. These are branding. We could put a list of names, but I still think that people aren't going to know what Lando and DDEV are. Like those are things that Drupal people don't even know about yet, and just having a link isn't going to provide any value. I do hear what you're saying about the page being too long, but I think that if we can solve that problem by having like eventually the call to action on the homepage, the try backdrop button will take you directly to a backdrop site. Right, you won't have to make any decision at all. That'll just take you to Backdrop, and you can start playing with it. That would be great. And then if the link that took you to this page was like, see other ways to use Backdrop, then at least people will be coming to this page with the right expectation that this is a place where you can make a decision about other ways you can use Backdrop, and then they're prepared for it, rather than like dumping them here with the expectation that this is how they try Backdrop. I think it's not necessarily going to have the effect we want.
Perhaps if these horizontal gray lines that say the motto, the line of the thing, spin up a local backdrop thing, and the icon, if these were collapsed sort of like in a form of accordion, and only when you clicked, like you had all the options together at the top, and only a single person just clicked on that for more details. I don't know, maybe it's less scrolling and all the sort of like the overview gathered in one single place. But my other main concern was, I see how you mentioned then that I should file a support request with Pantheon, and this, I see that this subject came up again. I actually did. I started a chat which then sort of like created a series of emails with them, and their response was just that, basically was saying that Drupal and WordPress are the sort of like the major players in the game, so that's what we have. We do have an option for Backdrop. There you go. Here's the link. But I was sort of like playing dummy. I already knew that I can go in backdropcms.org and click the button and do it. The point is, why we are promoting Pantheon by having them at the top of the list, and they're not curious enough, to list us there. Sort of, I was expecting sort of like a give and take thing. Yeah. I'm not saying that.
So that's part of the reason why we're like moving away from having them linked directly from our homepage, is because I think it would be fine to know about them if they were providing a quality service for our community. But the fact that anytime anyone has any problems, their first response is, we don't support Backdrop, when in most cases the problems we're coming into are not problems that are Backdrop specific. They're problems that happen on Drupal sites, and they're problems that are related to Pantheon infrastructure. It's not creating a good impression for people who want to run Backdrop. So I think that's kind of why we're working on setting up this page, is so that we can de-emphasize the use of Pantheon. It's not really the best option for people. And that way, if we have another provider who wants to provide good service for our community, it will be easy to pop them in the top instead. So I totally agree that all of this promotion of Pantheon is one-sided and maybe not what's best for our community, and that's why we're trying to create this page in the first place. We can change this order. We can. There's no tool in here right now that's setting the order. We can add one. It could be pay to play like Drupal. It could be, recommended by the community in some way. But yeah, I hear you, and we are working.
Yeah, at this point,
So-
Pantheon is the only one of these providers that's actually a hosting provider. Like the other ones are just local host tools.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Pantheon really is kind of the only way right now that we have on the website to say actually spin up an actual sandbox, like that is like a couple clicks rather than like, download and use a command line tool. So I think that's the primary reason why it's still at the top, is mostly because it's the only option that we have currently.
It's
I
a
guess
funny
it's not.
Yeah, sorry.
Go
It's a funny timing as well. The discussion in Gitter right now with Gore. I understand that the man has no time. I understand time limits, but the thing that he's built for us, it's like he's a person that has contributed greatly. And if I'm not sure if we are getting any money from donations, how much budget we have. Maybe if we could find Gore or anybody like Gore that could set up something like Simply Test Me for us, but with the ability to just move your site to a production thing, or at least be able to export your database or something like that, or import databases. And if you can, monetize this thing for him, good for him. He will be providing something to us that, and will be helping a person that has helped us greatly as well. But I don't know if he's up to that, or if we have any budget to sort of like contribute to that. I'm not sure.
Yep. Yeah, there's some other options out there too. Sandbox sites wise, Lullabot, who I work for, recently launched a product called Tugboat. You can see it at tugboat.qa, I think. And Tugboat is exclusively a sandbox preview builder. So basically exactly what we have for pull requests right now, but we could use it for other purposes like spinning up sandboxes, just on demand.
And I've also been talking to the folks at Dread. They're the makers of DDEV. They have a hosting option as well, and there are tools that you can use to create a local site and deploy it to their hosting service. You could also deploy it to something like Pantheon or Acquia. They're kind of platform agnostic, and so that might be a good option as well. So I think, and they're more willing to support the Backdrop community in terms of what we need than we've heard from Pantheon. So I think we've got a lot of good options sort of around the corner in the future for other ways we can promote Backdrop than what we're doing currently. And so part of the reason setting this page up is to create a way for us to have a little more flexibility to be able to swap things in and out and try different things and see what we can get going.
Yeah. Okay. One more option, Probo. I want to throw that out there too.
Is that a CI tool?
Yeah, probo.ci. It's why can't I think of the company? Philadelphia.
ZipTech?
ZipTech. Yeah, thank you. It's ZipTech's product that is kind of similar in fashion as well. They've got some interesting things going on here. It's good to see they're continuing to work on theirs as well. When I did a bunch of continuous integration evaluations back before Gore built our sandbox builder, Probo was a real good contender as well. And we haven't talked to them explicitly about Backdrop support, but ZipTech historically has actually been rather positive about honestly sticking it to the man, and Backdrop is a good way for them to do that.
That's a good one, yeah.
Okay, well let's move on from this try Backdrop page. It's a great start. I think it's a really good page, but we should, we need to think about how we're actually going to leverage it and use it. Just straight up replacing the try Backdrop button on the homepage, I'm not sure if we want to do that just because it introduces new friction.
I was thinking for starters, we would just put a link below the existing button that says see other ways to try Backdrop. And that way we don't change any of the existing functionality, but we get the new site kind of up and going. I was also thinking it might be something we could link from other pages on our website. So if people are various other, reading about install profiles or something, and then we could say, install or how to try or whatever. So we can just kind of sprinkle links around. And then later on, when we do decide what our new call to action is going to be, in terms of getting a faster try, we can just swap out the main call to action on that button, and then this page will still remain for any other tools that provide ways to try backdrop. I'm calling them platforms in terms of the node type name. I don't know what these things are actually called. Okay, that was a really long time to talk about one page. Let's see. Other things we're working on, modules, themes, layouts, search pages. We have designs that have not been implemented as originally intended. We want to add those. Includes better searches, facets, filters, that sort of stuff, so you can get the information you actually need about your modules, themes, and layouts. More importantly, though, we need to integrate screenshots. And that's going to require a small change to the way our projects are pulled into backdropcms.org, because I don't think right now there's anything that copies image files from GitHub over to display on our site. So we need to figure out how we're going to handle that, whether we just reference the file directly, or if we want to copy it into a field, or how we want to handle that. But we need to figure that out, and then we need to display them in a way that makes sense. And we might also want to include change to backdrop core that would allow us to have more than one screenshot for each project. So there's a related issue for that as well. So coming up on backdropcms.org, better modules, themes, and layouts selection. Other things, forum website, we're working on setting up a search box over there and styling the search result listing so that people can search for specific topics rather than needing to create new ones all the time. It'll help. Right now, there's not a whole ton of new duplicate conversations, but over time, we are definitely likely to run into duplicate conversations. So we're hoping this will let people find existing conversations rather than having to create new ones all the time, which is great. And the API site, since our last meeting, we have launched the new theme on api.backdropcms.org. And I can share that as well. Start on exactly the wrong page. So this is using a copy of the Borg theme from backdropcms.org. It's also on the forum site. It's now on the API site. Whoever had done the previous API site theme had actually done a lot of work on the code formatting styles. And so I have copied some of that code block formatting to make sure that all of the stuff that was on the previous theme added to Bartik has also been added to Borg. So hopefully everything will look just as good in all the places where we need it to look good on the new theme as it did on the previous one. In general, I think it looks better. We've got like a little more white space, makes it a little easier to read. We still have the nice color coding provided by the filter module. I've been generally impressed with how well things seem to have translated over from the old site, from old thing to the new. My one question was that right now on backdropcms.org in the forum site, people can log in, but people can't log into the forum website, but we still have this little like login widget in the top left corner. I was wondering if we should leave that or remove it. I think you had some feedback that some people will still be logging in, administrators and editors on the site, and so leaving that login in the same place is going to be useful for them, even if the majority of people on this website don't have accounts and don't log in.
Yep, that's my feeling on that, is that we should just go ahead and leave it rather than making it only appear in some places. I think it'll also be nice for consistency, like if once the forum site, the flagship site, and the API site are all running the same theme, and ultimately, you know, have some kind of single sign-on, that they'd all function in the same way.
that is all I have on that. Stop sharing. And that's it, I guess, for this week's design meeting. Is there anything design related that you guys want to talk about while we're here?
No, I don't think so. Designers, if you're out there, we still need you.
We're running out of issues to fix.
More than happy to accept some input, even though it may take us a year to implement things. We do get them done eventually. Okay.
We're a small bunch of people. Like it's like, yeah. There's too many things to be done, and there's so few of us, so little time. So we should be fair on ourselves.
Making progress.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else, then let's go ahead and wrap this meeting, and we'll meet again in 20 minutes. Next meeting is to talk about active development tasks for that.
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. Bye.